I just wanted to say I've spoken, come on. To many audiences this last month when I was in Detroit. It was 18 degrees, not counting wind chill. And I'm thinking, how dumb are they? No, I'm thinking, how smart are we to be out here? Okay, there we got it. I was flipping channels the other day and I came across a program on Discovery Channel. And it was a story of butterflies. And the announcer made a statement that I wrote down that is so powerful. He was talking about how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, and here's what he said. A caterpillar spits out of its mouth silk, which forms a cocoon that it lives in to become a butterfly. In other words, the caterpillar develops in what it spits out of its mouth. And so do you and I. See, what it spits out of its mouth is something visible that it lives in and develops in. What we spit out of our mouths is something invisible, but it is just as real. Because the words that we speak literally create an environment that we live in. And if we speak negative words, we're in a negative environment. We speak scarcity words, we're in a scarcity environment. We speak abundance words and increase words, we live in an abundance and increase environment. And anything and everything only grows when it's in the right environment. You know, you can plant a flower and you plant it out in the desert here, it might die, might, hardly grow, but you put it in a pot with potting soil, and that same plant can just, come 2 or 3 feet tall. Why? Because the environment is different. So I want you to realize afresh and anew today, the words that you speak in your home, the words that you speak that you listen to, are creating an environment that you live in. Why not create an environment of increase? An environment that's going to cause your life to expand. In fact, I think we should start that way today. I want you to just stand. We're going to create an environment of increase right now. We're going to do a little exercise. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to just find 3 people and just say to them, I am ready for fresh increase. Let's open up and say, I am ready for fresh increase. Thank you. Thank you. You can be seated, yes. Some of you, you look like you need not fresh increase, but fresh coffee. Oh, my goodness. I was in Las Vegas doing a seminar just a week and a half ago, and I ordered this coffee, and it just was horrible. And I said, the sign says you have blended coffee. The lady said, yes, it's a blend of yesterday's and today's. That was really bad, Then I said, but it tastes like mud. She says, yes, it's fresh ground. But I think before I get started today, let me just take a minute and share with you, because I realize there's familiar faces, but there's also new faces here. What is increase? Let me tell you what increase is not. Increase is not a teaching about money. Increase is a teaching about the way we process input. All of us process input a certain way. We'll see the same presidential debate, and we'll hear what people say, and different ones of us will hear different things and process it differently. We see a certain thing and we process it differently. Because how we process it is predetermined before the event takes place. Have you ever been around somebody, it doesn't matter what great thing might happen to them or what positive might happen, they can tell you what's wrong with it and how to make it better? On the other hand, somebody in the middle of a negative, they can find out what's good about it. Because, see, prior to that event, they have developed over a habit pattern of years, a way that they process information and respond. Well, increase teaches people to even hear and see scarcity, but to find increase and opportunities in it. And because they process differently, they have a different life. I shared with you last year when I was with you the story about me flying in Air Jamaica, but I want to share it again today with a little bit of different perspective. I was speaking 2 years ago this month at a conference in Montego Bay, and the conference ended on a Friday night. Then on Sunday, I was speaking at a large church in Kingston, the capital city. So I had to fly Saturday between the 2 cities. So I go out to the airport, and I put my suitcase on the scale, and the lady says, that'll be $50. And it startled me. I mean, it just like, and the reason was not $50. The reason was I hadn't been asked to pay for a bag in so long. What she said took me by surprise. You know, I'm a top-level flyer with American Airlines. My card says 9 million miles. I get to check 3 bags free. She's charging me $50 for one. But then I got a hold of myself, and I pulled out my credit card, and I reached it in to hand it to the lady. Now, I want you to see this. My conscious mind is saying respond to her. Reach for the credit card, hand it to her, and give her $50. But my subconscious mind has been pre-programmed in every opportunity to say, is there another way? Is there a better way? Is there a deal? So my conscious mind is handing her the card to depart $50 out of my life. My subconscious mind is trying to save it. And so just before she grabs the card, my subconscious mind says, pull it back. There might be another way. And so I said to her, I said, in America we have certain airlines, such as Alaska Airlines. And if you get to the airport and they have empty first class seats, you can upgrade for $50 to first class. I said, do you have a program like that? She said, yes, we do. If you want, you could upgrade for $50 to first class. I said, put me up front. She takes my card and I say, by the way, first class passengers don't pay for bags, do they? She said, no. Now, I want you to catch this picture. If you catch nothing else what I shared today, catch this picture. This is a picture of increased thinking. The back of the plane is crammed together, 6 across with people, paid $50 to check a bag. In the front are 2 of us in wide reclining seats, being served by a flight attendant. It was like a private jet. We paid $50 for an upgrade and had our bags free. What separated those in the front of the plane enjoying first class from those crammed into the back? It wasn't what they paid for the ticket. It wasn't how they were dressed. It wasn't their education. It wasn't their ethnic background. The only thing that separated the back of the plane from the front of the plane was thinking. And by the way, there were 8 seats in first class. Only 2 of them were occupied, so 6 more people could have done the same thing if they were thinking like me. See, that's what increase can do for you. It opens you up to a whole different realm of possibilities. And so today we're going to look at a key increase principle that I believe can really have an impact upon your life. And I just want to say it is so great to be back with you. The churches that I feel our ministry has the greatest impact on are ones we get to come and visit again, because we get to build on what we've done before. And so I'm just so excited to be with you and excited about your pastor. Australia and New Zealand, man, that's 2 of the greatest countries in the world to be ministering at right now. And I just know that they had a real great impact. Before I get started, let me just mention to you that coming up in a few weeks, if you're a spontaneous person that likes to seize opportunities, we are putting on a increase event in Hawaii. This will be our 34th year, and it's specifically geared for business owners, sales achievers, corporate executives, and pastors and people that want to rapidly go to another level. It's not a mass marketing type of thing. It's geared for upper level people. And we bring in the top quality speakers. We have our featured speakers this year are Jensen Franklin and John Bevere. And then we have some of the top business leaders. Like we're having the #1 all-time eBay salesperson. He personally has sold $45 million of products on eBay. And those kind of people come there. And it's going to be March the 1st to the 5th. And it's going to be the Westin Maui. We still have an early bird registration discount. Some of you think you can't come. My life changed because I made a decision to go to a conference the next day with 5 kids, figured out a way to do it. And so if you want information on it, we have brochures back at the table. I want to share with you today on a topic that I believe if you catch could really impact your life. And Ernie, if you just hand me the shirts for a minute. Today is Super Bowl Sunday, and I did bring the shirts of the team that I felt should have been in the Super Bowl this year. I mean, any team that can come back against Carolina from a 31-0 halftime deficit and only lose by 1 touchdown, and if they would have recovered the onside kick, could have tied the game. That's a championship team. But forget that this is Seahawks color. I'm not talking about the Seahawks today. I want to talk to you today about the Jewish number 8. If you can catch an understanding of the Jewish number 8 and how an understanding of this number could impact your life. Today, I understand this could literally change your life, because every time you see the number 8, I believe from now on, for some of you, it's going to cause you to think differently. And for our text, we're going to look at 1 Samuel, the 16th chapter. If you have your Bibles, you can turn to it. If not, turn to it later. And in 1 Samuel, the 16th chapter, we find the story of God speaking to the prophet Samuel. And he says, Samuel, I want you to go to the house of Jesse, and I want you to anoint one of Jesse's sons to be the next king of Israel. And we find the prophet arrives at the house, and when he arrives at the house, he immediately walks in, and here's what he sees. He sees Jesse standing there with 7 of his sons. The prophet walks in the door, and immediately he walks over to the eldest son, and he reaches out to anoint him to be the next king of Israel. And when he reaches out to anoint him to be the next king of Israel, God speaks to him and says, stop. I want to stop here for just a moment, because there's something here that is not part of our teaching. But I believe we have some leaders here, and I think there's something here that I want to impart into your life that's too important to miss. Here we have the prophet of the land, the interpreter of God's will for a nation, almost anointing the wrong person to be the next king of Israel. What if he would have anointed the wrong one? Think how history would have been changed. David would have never fought Goliath. The Philistine army and the tribe of Israel might have had a war. They might have lost and gone into captivity. All history could have been rewritten because one man almost made the mistake. And why did he almost make the mistake? Number one, because he is moved by what he saw. The Bible says the eldest son looked like a king. Did we ever get the PowerPoints working, or are they not working? No? Okay, maybe next service. All right, because I had some pictures I was going to show you. But you as a leader have to recognize that people are moved by what they see. And I would say this to you at the beginning of the year. If you're in any kind of sales, marketing, or business, this week take a few minutes and ask yourself, when people see my website, when people see my vehicles, when people see me and my employees, what do they feel? What do they think? What impression visually are we giving off? And is that an impression and a visualization of increase? And if it isn't, make a change. Because what they see is going to move how they think. It is said that in the first televised presidential debate of all time was Kennedy versus Nixon. The people that listened to the debate said Nixon won. The person that watched the debate said Kennedy won because they were moved by what they saw, and Nixon didn't look as sharp as Kennedy. Just how people see things can make a difference in how they react. Number two, he almost made a mistake because he's moved by history and tradition. And history and tradition said that the anointing of a home rested on the eldest son. So he immediately figured that the eldest son was the one that would be anointed king. You've got to know history. You've got to appreciate history. I love history, but don't make decisions on history. Things change so fast. I'm just curious, how many in this room last July would have predicted in February that the front runner for the Republican nomination was Donald Trump? You talk about recreating history. All right, so let's move on with the story. So he goes to the eldest son, and God says, no, it's not him. Oh, I could stay here for a minute, but let me just say, don't just be sensitive to when God says go. Be just as sensitive when he says stop. It'll save you so many heartaches, so many wrong decisions. So he goes to anoint him, God says no. So he immediately thinks, now what do I do? This is like the guy having his whole package and thing put together going on Shark Tank. And he is no, 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 no. What do? You walk out the door with all these no's. But no. See, he looked and there were 6 other options in the room. I got a backup. So he goes to the second son. Must be him. No. Third son. Must be him. No. Fourth son. Must be him. No. Fifth, no. Sixth, no. Seventh, no. Now the prophet has a problem that all of you are going to face at some time in your life. And here's the problem. What do you do when every option that you know is a no? What do you do when you've tried everything you know to try and it's a no? Do you try again? Do you quit? Do you just cry? I mean, really, what do you do? And the thing that made it even harder for the prophet was this. He had gotten 7 no's. And in the Jewish language, 7 means completion. In the Jewish language, 7 means that's all there is. That's why there's 7 days in a week. That's all there is. 7 colors in a rainbow. That's all there is. That's why Stephen Covey called his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because he wanted people mentally to think that's all there is. So now the prophet has gotten a no to all of his options, and his belief system is screaming, that's all there is. And for most people, this would be the end of the road. They would try again and still get no's, or they would quit, or they'd cry and go in despair. But see, I believe that the prophet was an increased thinker. And the reason I believe that is because of what came out of his mouth. And what comes out of your mouth at a point of crisis will reveal more about you than almost anything else. Listen to what you say at moments of opportunity and crisis. You'll learn about yourself. And the prophet turned and he said to Jesse, Jesse, do you have any more sons? Jesse, is there a number 8? And Jesse said, yes, I have one more son. He's my son David. He's not in the room. He's out in the field tending the sheep. And the prophet says, go and get him. And they went and got him, and they brought him into the room. And when they brought him into the room, God says, that's him. And he was anointed king. Now, isn't that something? Now, I want you to catch this. Because this is a foundation of increased thinking. The answer to the problem was already in existence. It just wasn't in the room of where they were at, what they could see. All they had to do was go outside of the walls of that room, and they found the answer. See, that's the problem that many of us face. We all live in that room of 7. We think, we dream, we possibilitize, we plan, we invest in that room. And sometimes we get frustrated, it doesn't work, or we have a loss, or we're not getting the increase we want. It's not that there isn't an answer. It's that we have to get outside the room to find the answer. And if we'll get outside the room, meaning our thinking, we will find that answer. But when I drove up here, I looked over and I saw this beautiful campus of California State University, Riverside, here in Palm Desert. I don't know how many of you know the story about how that campus got created, but that campus would not be here except for 2 increased thinkers. The University of California system and the California State University system both said that they would not be constructing a campus in the Palm Springs area for 15 to 20 years. And people that wanted to do a 4-year education had to drive to University of California, Riverside, or Cal State San Bernardino in order to do their junior and their senior years. And local officials tried to get the university to come. They said it's not in the budget, the population isn't big enough. You know, it'll be 10, 15, 20 years before we do a campus here. But see, 2 increased thinkers wouldn't accept all the no's. They scheduled a luncheon here in the Palm Desert area, and they brought in the president of the University of California, some government and city officials, and they again heard the no's, but they were ready this time. They said, what if? What if? Now think about how this is going outside the wall. What if we gave you the land for a campus, free? What if we gave the university system the buildings free? Would you staff it and open up a university? And they said, yes, we would. And they got the Palm Desert to donate the land. In 90 days' time, with that dream and that vision out there, they raised $10 million. In another 90 days, they raised another $10 million. And that campus is only there because of 2 increased thinkers. See, I think we should give them a hand. So when you train yourself to go outside the wall and you don't accept the no, but you have this inherent belief system, the money you need, the relationship you need, the idea you need, it is already there. Now catch this. It is already there. It is merely on the other side of the wall, and you have to train yourself to go on the other side of the wall, and when you do that, you will find it. It is sitting there waiting for you. But that doesn't make you an increased thinker. That makes you an increased visitor. It's like going to stay at the Ritz-Carlton for 2 or 3 nights. You visit the Ritz-Carlton, you enjoy the increase of the Ritz-Carlton, but then you come back to where you are. The difference between an increased visitor and an increased thinker can be found in the prayer of Jabez. And many of you are familiar with the prayer of Jabez. Jabez cried out to God and he said, Lord, expand my territory. Say that, Lord, expand my territory. Say it again, Lord, expand my territory. Now, I agree, in the context of the verse, he's talking about land. But take that same concept and put it into the realm of your thinking. Lord, expand my thinking. Lord, cause me to think bigger. Now, let's go back to the walls for just a moment. I want you to see this. The 7 no's are in the wall. The number 8, yes, is outside the wall. When you train yourself to go outside the walls of your thinking, outside the walls of normal, outside the walls of fear, outside the walls of discomfort, you will find that number 8. But Jabez is saying, why should I keep going out to find number 8 and live with the 7 no's? What if I moved the walls? What if I did a construction job and moved the walls like the walls of a building? What if I moved the walls of my mind out? Now, number 8 will no longer be something I have to go outside and find. Number 8 can be in my walls. So now I don't have 7 options, I have 8 options. 8 is living in the room. And that's when you're going to hand the card to pay $50. You say, no, I'll get upgraded to first class. Because number 8 was already up here. And it was thinking, there's another way, there's another way, there's another way, there's another way. That's what I want you to catch today. Let me illustrate it. Moving the walls. Yesterday, my daughter, Michelle, she's out visiting from Tulsa to her daughter down in Lake Forest, who just had, Well, let's teach her this for a minute. We'll stop for just a minute. We live in a very negative, scarcity-minded world. And even when you're in the upper levels of increased thinking and you're teaching all around the world, I believe there's a battle you have to fight to keep thinking increase. And one of the ways I do it, I just try to interrupt the decreased negative thinking, and interruptions is the key, and I bring in increased thinking. You might want to do this. I did it for the month of January. I'm doing it for February. I went and took every 30 minutes, beginning at 9 o'clock, and I set an alarm. And I put in a different verse of increase to confess, to interrupt anything that I was facing that day, and to launch my day into increased thinking. So 9 o'clock, the Lord shall increase me more and more, me and my children. 9:30, he encompassed me about with a spirit of favor. The alarm just went off, and our verse for 10 o'clock is, daily he loadeth me with benefits. Oh my goodness, you get that on the inside. Daily he loadeth me with benefits. Every single day he's loading me with benefits. If I'm looking for him, if I'm waiting for him, if I'm anticipating him, if I'm not, they're going to go buy me. But I'm ready for them. And so it just goes on like that. You might want to set your phone like that. It's a great way to start your day with increased thinking. All right, let's move on. So Michelle, I just became a great-grandfather. We now have 21 grandkids and 2 great-grandkids. Wow. So they came up to the house yesterday, but I was thinking when Olivia was going to ORU, all 3 of Michelle's girls got full ride scholarships to Oral Roberts for volleyball, Oral Roberts University. And even though it was in the same town they lived, they were having trouble with transportation. And so they decided to get the girls a car, and they decided they were going to get her an Xterra SUV. And she found one that they liked, and the price, I think, was at a dealership $22,000, a nice used one, low mileage. And she called me and she said, Dad, should I get that? And I said, well, just look around. So she looked around at a private party, and she found one from a private party just as nice for 18 grand. So the first wall she looked at was the walls of a dealership. Now, sometimes you'll find a car there. I'm not talking against dealerships, but why not look at another option? So she went outside the walls of the dealership. She looked out in the walls of the city of Tulsa. And by doing that expansion, she saved $4,000. When she expanded her territory, she saved money. Can you see that? So then she called me and said, Dad, I found one for 18 grand. Is that a good deal? I said, yes, it is, but it's not necessarily a great deal. I said, what's your search? She said, 100 miles. I even included Oklahoma City. I said, what if you expanded the walls from 100 miles to 250 miles and included Dallas and Fort Worth? She expanded the search and found the same vehicle in Dallas, lower mileage, better condition, and bought it for $5,000 less. Now think about that. What was the key? The key was she didn't accept where the walls were. She expanded them that far, then she expanded them that far. See, when you start expanding your thinking and start thinking bigger and believing bigger, all of a sudden you're going to find deals, you're going to find opportunities, you're going to find jobs, you're going to find contracts, you're going to find ideas and strategies that can change your life. So my underlying message today is, I can tell you how you'll be a failure this year. If you end this year thinking in the same walls you're thinking now. And you will if you don't take action. So I challenge you, take action. Begin this week to do things, to think bigger, to dream bigger. And bigger things are going to happen to you. Start reading biographies of people that have accomplished bigger things. Drive around listening to CDs of teaching, downloads of teaching of people that teach increase and success. Maybe go to a seminar. Come to Hawaii. It'd be one of the greatest investments you ever made. I'm having dinner this week for the businessman who lives down here at Tuscany. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I don't even know if they have lots under $1 million. But anyway, it's a beautiful subdivision over here. And he came to our Hawaii conference. He was in construction. His most optimistic projection was that he'd lose $500,000 that year. That's pretty gloomy. But he said the second day, I got a strategy. I began to apply it in our business. And instead of losing $500,000 that year, they made over $1 million. Made $1 million. Why? Because he went someplace where increase was being taught. And it crosses thinking to get bigger. So find ways and things. Start hanging around increased thinking people. Look at the people you're around, and if they're all thinking like you are, you need to get some new friends. Start taking them out to lunch or do something. Get around some bigger thinkers. All right, let's keep going. But what do you do? What do you do if you bring 8 into the room and you still get a no? Because I can't guarantee you getting 8 in the room is going to cause you to have a win. Any more than I can guarantee if you think and play like the Seahawks, you're going to win. You'll be in contention. So what if 8 comes in the room and it's still a no? I have good news for you. I checked further and I found out that in the Jewish language, there's another meaning for the number 8. Now, the first meaning for the number 8 in the Jewish language is transcending limits and going beyond normal. In the Jewish language, the number 8 means transcending limits and going beyond normal. By the way, that's one of the reasons why Jewish babies, male babies, are circumcised on the 8th day. Not the 7th, which means completion. On the 8th day. Because the very day they choose for the circumcision of male babies signifies they believe they're raising sons that are not going to think normal. They choose the number 8 because they're raising beyond normal children. So 8 means going beyond normal. But there's another meaning for the number 8. And the second meaning for the number 8 is transcending the natural. When you can't find an answer in the natural, don't stop at number 8. I want to encourage you, go for the second 8. Because it can make all the difference in the world. Get off your feet and get on your knees. And pray and ask God for answers. When I've been with you before, you've heard the story of how I had a small automobile renting and leasing company in Southern California. Took a car in to get service one day. The owner of the dealership was out on the drive. We visited for a few minutes, and he told me that day he'd called Chrysler and said he was closing the store. They were out of money. The good salespeople had left. It was a hopeless situation. It was all no, 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 and he was closing. He said, how's your business? I said, we just had our record-breaking month. He said, let's talk. And 15 minutes later, he offered me 22% ownership if I would come in to try and save his dealership. Think about that. I took a car in for service, and I drove out with a 22% ownership of the dealership. Now, that's pretty good change. Now, mind you, it's 20% ownership in a dealership that was going to go bankrupt. But it was an opportunity. Now, I'll share this with you, and we don't have time to get into the details, but I didn't know how to turn around a dealership. It wasn't that I had a previous record of turning around dealerships. I'd sold cars for 2 weeks in my life. 2 weeks. And this guy's saying, save our dealership. I didn't know what to do. One of the things I did, I started praying. I said, God, you spoke to Daniel. You'll still speak today. God, I need ideas and strategies. Start asking God not for money. Start asking God for ideas and strategies. They'll produce the money. And God gave us a plan, and we took that dealership in a 90 days time. It was the top 10 in Southern California for Chrysler Plymouth stores. And the following month, I bought the dealership. Changed my whole life. Why? Because I recognize the power of prayer. I want to re-emphasize to you this second 8. Prayer is not just about feeling good. Prayer is not just about blessing food. There is a power that is released in prayer. Strategies and ideas are released in prayer. God can direct your steps through prayer. Your life can totally change through prayer. So I just encourage you as we wrap this up today. Number 1, start thinking number 8. And that means you start believing that the answer, the relationship, the idea, the strategy, the money that you need, it is already there. All you have to do is get on the other side of the wall. Go through discomfort, go through fear, and find it. And you'll find your answer. Number 2, if you don't find your answer going to the other side of the wall in that number 8, recognize that there's a second number 8. And start praying and asking God to release to you the strategies and the ideas and show you the concepts you need to make. And if you'll do that, I think you'll be shocked at the change and the increase can take place in your life. I believe that this year can be the greatest year of your life. I don't know what the interest rate's going to be at the end of the year. I don't really care. I don't know what the unemployment's going to be at the end of the year. I don't really care. All I care about is how I am thinking on the inside. Because if I'm thinking on the inside, I can be successful even when things are negative. The only reason I got the opportunity for a dealership was because things were so bad. Sometimes if you're thinking differently, bad times can be your good times. So I challenge you today. Go for number 8. How many are willing to do that? Let's say this together. Say this prayer with me. Father, I thank you for your word. And your word clearly shows you want me to increase. I make a decision today. I am not staying where I am. I'm going to think bigger. I'm going to believe bigger. I believe this is my year of 88. And I thank you now. And I praise you for the increase that is coming my way. Now thank you for that. Praise you, Father.